Audio Jungle.
I am the Divine Prince, Ty Emmecca, Pan-African spiritualist, practitioner, author, advisor, Elagoon, Oloye, Hoodoo, Obeya, Bokur. I reside in this beautiful and legendary, historic Treme, New Orleans, Louisiana. So join me as I share food, music, culture, tradition, the rhythms, and the flavor of New Orleans voodoo. Respect the voodoo. All greetings and salutations. Welcome, welcome. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. You are listening now live and always in archive at your leisure and convenience. Broadcasting from this beautiful, historic, legendary, and most enchanted city in America, New Orleans, Louisiana. Sharing with you in all things spiritual, mystical, metaphysical, cosmic, universal, healing, holistic, evolutionary, revolutionary, from a Pan-African hoodoo, world spiritualist perspective. Understanding that all is truly and indeed a blessing. If you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test, and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. You are now listening, enjoying, participating in another revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes, brought to you by NONVD. Powered, sponsored by, brought to you by New Orleans National Voodoo Day. Be a part of something bigger. New Orleans National Voodoo Day is more than an event. It's a chance to celebrate cultural heritage, build community, and foster healing. Your tax-deductible sponsorship helps us honor history while driving economic growth. Let's create a richer, stronger New Orleans together. Let's create a greater, better worldwide Voodoo Day. Please visit us at www.vodouday.org. Again, www.voodooday.org for sponsorship details and information about participating and joining us for April 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2025. April 4th is our press conference. April 5th is our art show, symposium, and Afroecology show at Xavier University. And then our procession begins at the river on April 6th as we make our way through the French Quarter and in the community, ultimately arriving here at Congo Square, where I will meet you at the tree with another powerful ancestral ceremony as we begin another historic New Orleans National Voodoo Day. We certainly appreciate you and invite your support and participation. It is carnival time. It is carnival time. As I said on the last podcast, I'm not sure who's going to show up or when. There is so much going on right now. There's literally a party bus outside my house now, vibrating and shaking the walls. And of course, the uptown super crews and parades are rolling. I think Morpheus crew has just begun to roll uptown, or at least within the last hour or so. So they should be slowly making their way to this neck of the woods. It's going to be a great carnival. Everyone, at least in my circle, seems to predict so. We're certainly hoping for a safe and enjoyable Mardi Gras Day and into carnival season. And we invite those of you who still have time to make it here, who are in close proximity or near an airport to find your way for another great carnival season and Mardi Gras here in this beautiful New Orleans. I invite you to meet us at 10 a.m. at Backstreet Cultural Arts Museum, where we will begin a powerful day of culture and tradition, history and celebration. And so we again invite you to come out and join us in Sixth Ward Treme. If you plan to be here, you better get here early. And I do mean early. Parking will be limited, and pretty much once you get into this community or seek to enter this community past a certain time of day, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to do so, except by way of foot. The traffic, the random parking, the celebrants, and the culture that will be taking place in the street. So it's definitely something you want to plan ahead for. It can be challenging to decide you want to be in more than one place on Mardi Gras Day in a city the size of New Orleans with so much happening and going on. So I invite you to start out early, make your plans days ahead in terms of where you're going to be, where you're going to park, what you're going to do while these powerful festivities are going on. And for me, as we've discussed in previous broadcasts, Carnival and Mardi Gras Day is really just an extension of ancestral masquerade for us in the Pan African community. It's very similar to Egungun masquerade or Galede masquerade. Uh, However, we are honoring and acknowledging those Aboriginal and Indigenous ancestors that assisted us in finding freedom and escaping so-called civilization and making our way through the bayou and surviving in the bayou. It's my understanding that the overseers didn't think we could survive in the swamp. They understood they could not survive in the swamp. So they assumed that, these crazy uh, enslaved folk are running out here into the swamps just to their death, but did not understand that they were cities, civilizations, homesteads, if you will, built often on stilts and in the trees, supported in these swamp and bayou areas. It's also been documented, I believe, in the Carolinas. Here in the last few years, they've found evidence in archaeological um, deposits that suggest permanent living settlements within swampy, bayou, marsh areas, even finding things that would survive in the moisture, in the moss, in the water, things that would speak to spiritual practice and daily activity like fishing and hunting, and the creation of certain materials and products necessary for living and survival. So we honor through our masking Indian those ancestors that aided in our survival as we left the city proper and made our way out into the swamps and the maroon camps. A very important day for me is and he knows that I'm doing a podcast. Why he would be calling me right now is just unbelievable. But anyway, a day that's very important for me is uh, Juneteenth, but I don't necessarily celebrate Juneteenth. I'm acknowledging and commemorating the execution of Saint Milo or Juan Saint Milo, who was a mixed raced person of color who escaped and helped others to escape and develop a maroon camp out in New Orleans East. And they had gotten so sophisticated with their survival techniques that many of them were coming into town and working their jobs and handling their design assigned duties here in town, and then on the weekends and on the downtime when master might be off in the big house or miles away somewhere, on a larger plantation, they would run off and escape into the New Orleans East and to other swamp and bayou areas uh, where they lived and survived for some time. I am broadcasting live in the middle of a podcast. I'm going to have to get back to you. So it's a day that's important to me in acknowledging maroon presence and survival, and particularly here in North America. We often hear tales and legends and reggae songs about Nanny of the Maroons and even maroon camps in Brazil that were able to be maintained and survive in often mountainous wilderness, uncontrolled vegetation. We did not necessarily have that regional leisure here north of the border, and certainly, would be sought after, hunted after, captured, in the running away. And to tell stories of Maroons and those who survived unscathed, um, without meeting the fate of, a John Milo or Juan Milo, depending on what language and accent you're speaking the name in, would only empower an enslaved population already um, amped up, triggered by the Haitian Revolution, where that knowledge was able to reach, and the overall fear of revolution and uprising increased exponentially here in the Deep South after the Haitian Revolution. So to make examples of these Maroons who had escaped Orleans Parish and had managed survival of some sorts out in the Maroons, they had to be made an example of, and they were executed and beheaded in Jackson Square, not far from where the cathedral is and where your friendly neighborhood tarot psychic readers sit out and read the tourists. Just in that space. So it's a space that historically and traditionally I have gone out on Juneteenth to do ceremony and honor those Maroons who just couldn't survive enslavement and found ways to liberate themselves, even in the course of maintaining their work and their jobs and coming back, but finding that means of escaping. We saw an example of that in the fictional dramatized production of Roots, where certain enslaved Africans were allowed greater liberties than others, like Chicken George, for example, who ultimately bought his freedom and that of his family. But because he worked, as a driver and with the horses and the chariot for Massa, he had an ability to travel and get around and gain access to people, places, and resources, and then bring that ultimately, according to the story, back to his family. And there were many examples of that. But again, those examples aren't often talked about or taught, particularly in this, is it safe to say, post DEI era? They certainly won't be talked about and shared unless we continue to do so, unless we continue to make it our business to do so. And it's one of the reasons why I fully support and co organized with National New Orleans Voodoo Day to ensure that our legacy and our history is not forgotten, but certainly that our brothers and sisters in the diaspora understand it and their place in it are also acknowledged, whether it be on the motherland, here in this so-called New World, Central, South America, and North America, and certainly now in the diaspora. I like to say voodoo worldwide, wherever the practices and traditions of our ancestors are being maintained and fed. We certainly want to give, acknowledge, and honor. There is a component to my coming docuseries that illustrates our connection with the motherland, the Gold Coast, the Slave Coast, depending on who was saying it, and certainly Central and South America, but particularly Brazil, and then showcase the similarities and unique nuances and differences in how traditional Aboriginal indigenous spiritual practices made its way here to this new soil and then re-germinated, recreated itself in the forms of demonstration that we know today. Candomblé in Brazil, Lucumi and Santeria in Cuba and Puerto Rico, Maria Leonza in Venezuela, Shango practice in Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, certainly root work and conjure will also be covered a great deal in coming episodes of this production. So I've been starting the show of late with our original trailer, which was actually created maybe 2 years ago. We created the trailer that is at the top of my YouTube page. But we have a brand new trailer that we will be releasing in due time, in due season, that should really get you motivated for this project. The coming release on March 25th of the documentary A Cursed Man is certainly a separate thing from what I'm doing, but is a sort of a prelude, if you will, to sort of the spirit and energy of some aspects of what we will be doing. And certainly we want to showcase, as I seek to do here in this space, other practitioners, other divisions and systems within ATR and within our grassroots practice, and share those commonalities, those things that we have in common, those things that we inherited in ancestral DNA memory, but also those nuances that come with time and modernization and experience and access to resources, and how we demonstrate ATR, Aboriginal African spiritual practices and traditions in the various unique ways among the Gullah Geechee, in the Carolinas and in the Georgia region, in the Memphis and in Tennessee, Kentucky region, up and down the Mississippi River and the Mississippi Delta, Mississippi, and subsequent states, all the way up to Wisconsin, in how Hoodoo, conjure, the Black Spiritualist Church has carried the very essence of voodoo throughout the nation, and again, ultimately throughout the world. And sharing that not only brings the whole a greater sense of respect in the world, but allows us to continue to create and recreate new spaces to live and operate in, as some of these old systems are beginning to, if not be dissolved and done away with, certainly are being transformed and are taking on new ways of existing and being with the times, certainly with the times, with the technology, with the evolution of the consciousness of the people, both those within the culture and certainly those who are, observing and witnessing from outside of our culture. Every dynamic of who we think we are and who we know we have been um, is beginning to evolve. It's becoming something new. And so we have a unique opportunity, those of us in this space, and certainly those who listen and enjoy this content and understand this content. We certainly have that opportunity to create and recreate a reality, at least within our communities, our religious centers, our community centers, our sacred spaces, our grassroots spaces, to create a reality that better mirrors our best interests and allows us to utilize our natural and sacred spiritual gifts for personal change, but also change at the communal and societal level. So this is a very busy season for us. Indeed, one of the busiest for me throughout the year, probably second only to Halloween, All Saints, All Souls Day. Uh, really, the beginning of our holiday season here in New Orleans, culminating with Mardi Gras. And so I'm always humbled and honored to share this space with you. I'm certainly open to any questions, comments, requests as it relate to voodoo, hoodoo, voodoo with four O's, voodoo with the U. Uh, some of you know that I've started the process of officially initiating in Haitian traditions and learning Creole and learning the Haitian hymns and songs to sort of uh, create a better connection with the triangular trade route that we often refer to as the Middle Passage, but understanding those 3 points of the triangle, again, in terms of voodoo and African spirituality and tradition, and how those continue to affect us and evolve us today, and even the society around us. Not many of you would deny even the effect of church, the Black church, and how that has affected America and the fabric of America in many ways. And so let's not neglect these traditions in our community, often referred to as folk practices and tradition, folk art, folk demonstration. Let's not undervalue and underestimate the power of our own lineage, the power of the very ancestral memory that survives in our blood, that has created a unique, uh, diverse tribe that we are in North America, and certainly a diverse group of people that our extended family often takes many cues and cultural and pop cultural direction from fashion, art, politics, etc. So let's acknowledge ourselves. Let's acknowledge each other. Let's acknowledge those ancestors that encamp around us, that are our first line of defense in any human endeavor. And let's continue to evolve and move forward. Let's not give up. Let's not be given to the disease and the curse that is apathy, which is a part of the structural plan. Is to have you so exhausted and so tired and so sick and tired of being sick and tired, of crying and mourning and weeping and wailing, that you will you take no action, that you don't participate, that you not only not vote, but you don't get out there and get involved hands on in some way to affect not only your reality, but the reality of those around you. We destroyed nature and the planet to some degree and have allowed for uh, the manipulation of nature. Thus, we often don't know where our food is coming from, or we do know where our food is coming from, and we know that it's not food. And many of us have not yet readapted the skills and abilities for survival after, you know, 100 years or so of modernization here in the U.S. Uh, we think we don't need those survival skills, those survival tactics, or we've, coined them as sport and play. So we hunt for sport and play. We fish for sport and play. We go camping for recreation and leisure and sport and play. Climate influenced regions of the country. Um, Many people aren't thinking about nature, aren't thinking about the weather, aren't thinking about how to survive without power, how to survive without water, how to survive without, the big box trucks uh, filling up the big box stores, with your so-called food and artificial edible, products that mask as food. Um, you know, could you raise a chicken? Sister Tony talked about the difficulty, and that comes with raising chicken. It's a lot more than just throwing feed out and letting the birds peck. And you have to protect them from disease. You have to protect them from predators of all sorts. So it's more than a notion. Gardening and developing a green thumb takes some work and experience and wisdom and willingness to accept some good advice from time to time, particularly as it relates to region, understanding what can be grown in your region, the conditions of your soil, though I personally prefer potted plants, trees, herbs whenever possible. Right now, some of you know I've recently relocated just 5 houses down the street from where I was before. So I don't really have anything in the ground here as of yet, especially after that, out of the blue snow storm we had. But all of my fruit trees, my produce, my herbs, my edibles are in pots, and the largest size pots you can imagine. You can go to a home. Is Home Depot on the no go list? Lowe's, which one is just safe to shop in right now? And go and get your, you know, sometimes 3 feet high, 4 feet high. I can't quite recall the diameter right now. It might be 42 inches in diameter, big enough for kumquat trees, blueberry, bush, um, things of that nature to grow. I've grown sugar cane, and I have uh, a pot with sugar cane in it. Um, there's just a variety of things that can be grown. Just get information about your region, your climate region. When the cold, if you experience cold and frost, when does that end? When does that end? When does that begin? And then start choosing hardy plants that can endure the heat or the cold or the rain or the lack thereof, whatever the particular nuances are of your region, and just begin. Begin with one thing, one plant. Just begin somewhere. I also enjoy um, harvesting and foraging for edibles in the wild. And certainly you have to have some experience, some knowledge. There are apps that can assist you today in taking photographs of plants and trees, and by the magic of AI, it'll tell you in many cases what the plants are, but they are susceptible to some error, particularly with mushrooms and some other plants that you need to be a little bit more careful with in terms of picking edible and non-poisonous varieties. But I love harvesting edible uh, fruits and herbs and plants in the wild. Sometimes, in some cases, when it's healthy to do so, replanting parts of those clippings or cuttings, or taking up small baby plants and then transferring them to my garden. But I also don't disturb nature where nature does not need to be disturbed. Your blackberry trees. New Orleans is full of orange trees, grapefruit trees. I know where kumquat of 5 different varieties are. Um, Misbelieves, another popular fruiting tree here in New Orleans. I know people that have mangoes, coconut, and but not coconut. I can't think of any coconut trees in New Orleans, but I do know date palms in New Orleans that fruit dates and date palms. So there's just a variety of things that can be grown and developed in the yard, and we're going to speak to that and offer some of that wisdom and information at the Afroecology aspect of the symposium at Xavier University on April 5th, 2025. So again, we encourage you, we invite you to come out and be a part, and certainly we plan to stream live for a small fee, and you can also join with us virtually. So I'm going to take a momentary intermission and hydrate a little bit, and I will be back with more revolutionary hoodoo, New Orleans voodoo secrets and recipes. Again, I always offer your questions, comments, and requests. You can certainly join me by following the streaming link for StreamYard at the bottom of your screen, and jot down our website, voodooday.org, VODOUDAY.org, and learn more about our coming second annual National New Orleans Voodoo Day. I will be forward momentarily. All is a blessing.
Hello, alligator, floating my tub. I want to thank you for my brand new boots. They came over, sticking on my floor. His butler's jacket's king of me, he's blue. I'm a big bad wolf.
Okay, I'm back. That didn't take long to take some sips of water and rehydrate. It's harder than I even imagined, though I've done it many years now since Hurricane Katrina. But to be in Tremaine, uh, this close to the action, with it all happening just outside of your house, outside of your window, while still trying to do, edifying and entertaining uh, podcasts. I certainly appreciate my co-host. I just wish I had somebody else here with me right now to run interference and to speak a little, and to sort of keep me on track. This is the beginning of a long weekend, 5 days for many people, and the traffic, the tourists are coming, still coming. Why some people wait till the last minute to come for Fat Tuesday, I just don't know. But Parades roll today, parades rolling tomorrow, parades rolling Sunday, parades rolling Monday. It's just a lot happening, and certainly the block parties and the balls and the neighborhood gatherings and the barbecuing. It's just no place like New Orleans any time of the year, but particularly during Carnival and during Mardi Gras. If you know, you know. I am indeed on the wall, which means that I'm ready to come out in indigenous mask Mardi Gras Day. There's a few things that I want to tweak. There's always something you can overthink it and always find something else to add, something else to tweak, something else to sew down. But I'm certainly ready and looking forward to Backstreet Cultural Arts Museum on um, Tuesday morning, Mardi Gras morning. I will be at Mac Street on Lundy Gras, uh, but we will be filming Dominique, the inherited owner now, management of Backstreet Cultural Arts Museum, and she will be introducing the second floor, the newly opening second floor of Backstreet Cultural Arts Museum. So we're really looking forward to that. The Horn Brothers will go along with us for the journey, and just a busy weekend, y'all. Just a busy weekend. Food, drink, fun, culture, family, people. I mean, who really could ask for more? And wonderful weather, though that is problematic for masking Mardi Gras Indians. I'm in layers of felt and canvas and ostrich and duck, fur and messlin, and it's a lot. It's a lot. And whereas they were predicting some rain, and we still may have a chance of some rain and 70 degrees, um, they're now predicting something like 78 degrees, maybe even 80 degrees on Mardi Gras Day, which is just way too warm for a Mardi Gras Indian suit. So we will see. We've done it before. Those of us who perform certainly do so all year round, and we have to make provisions, for the temperature of wearing a suit of such ability to hold heat. But we make it work. We make it work. So I'm not really, as crazy as it might sound if you live in Milwaukee or Chicago or DC. I'm really not looking forward to 80 degrees on April 5th. But it's early spring. It is indeed springtime. It's time for the birds to chirp and the bees to begin to do what they do, and my garden to begin to come forward again. Those plants that don't stay green all winter. Some of my garden stays green all winter. Three of my varieties of kumquats go with the fall, particularly if the temperature dips. But one, my dwarf kumquat, um, always stays green and vibrant. It's budding right now, and it will be on display at the Afro Ecology Show at Xavier University for the symposium on April 5th. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you and for participating in such a powerful event. I was invited to also participate in a herbalist conference of some sort. And as soon as I get more information about that, I'll let you know. It's another local event. I believe it's happening on March 25th. Um, and me and a good friend from NONVD plan to be there. And so when I get a stronger confirmation of the details, I will also present that and bring that forward to you. It is 21:39. It is 9:39 p.m. Central Standard Time. Carnival is in full roll right now. There are balls happening, parties happening, festivities happening. It's a lot going on. My wild man from my Mardi Gras Indian Maroon tribe is in town from Arizona. So we're looking forward to his demonstration Mardi Gras Day. My good friend Big Chief Kevin Turner was supposed to come by today. I don't know what happened. Last I heard, he was stuck in traffic, and that can be a thing. Forgive me, I have to respond to a text message. Yeah, and that can be a thing. So I hope he's okay and he didn't get stuck. That he didn't get stuck somewhere, but I'll try him again on tomorrow when it's less going on the street. I have to get up early and continue filming for the docu series. So we will be performing a ritual at the river in the morning. We have a sacred space out in nature that we've sort of created along the river. I won't say exactly where it is. And I almost want to say along with the city, though the city has no idea. But they have foundational iron and concrete. And within that space, we've created a outdoor sacred space right off the bank of the river where we go and do ceremony. And we're going to go there and film first thing in the morning. So I've really got to get some rest. I'm looking forward to that, but I've really got to get some rest and be fresh and ready for that. We want to really document what's authentic to the practice and the tradition, how we live, how we do what we do every day, and still exists in America. People still see ATR and Voodoo as a bit of a novelty. It's something that you travel to an exotic land and experience for a week or two and come back with a few items and maybe a new attire and a haircut, and they just don't see much more than that, particularly if they aren't learning that practice, a part of that practice, if they're just unfamiliar. And so we want to really show how we live and how we, do what we do, how we operate in Western society and Western culture and Western politics, in a Western retail structure. When it comes to Ebo and sacrifices and supplies, certainly there's those things that are imported. We have implements that are imported from Haiti, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Brazil, West Africa, certainly. But then there's just those things that we can create or access here, particularly here in the South, that bring our practice and tradition to life. And we want to again share that and stress the importance of coming together in community sacred spaces, but also, as I've said before, create and recreate sacred spaces for which we can operate in, separate from, if not divorced from, many of the old world and outdated structures that some of us came from, or just no longer useful to us, no longer of aid to us. Certainly, there are those among us who still seek and claim some support from those traditions. So I don't want to just disparage them wholesale. We're smart enough in this room to understand the dynamics of politics and religion and culture and how it has affected us generational, and the generational curses attached to that require our constant, fervent attention, for breaking and cleansing and healing and reprogramming from those traditions, those triggering traditions. But for some, they still find a way to, you know, like a cat, walk the fence, and not really choose a side, and that's okay for them. Though I find it in my practice, it tends to be problematic, and often people, when they truly seek liberation and freedom, often end up seeking out something beyond that structure, that system, even if they choose to do so, quietly. D goddess, when I'm by the river, can I say a healing prayer for her and her family? Oh, we certainly will. Um, no problem at all. And certainly we receive requests such as this, also quite frequently by way of email. But we certainly will um, say your name, particularly and specifically while we are conducting our ceremonies at the river. Please forgive me. I'm beginning to yawn. After several days of sewing, beating, sequencing, getting it together, sometimes 12, 16 hours in a day, and then everything else that I'm doing. It's a lot when carnival season comes around. Some of my long time listeners have heard me say many a year I die every carnival season I die to be reborn, Ash Wednesday, the day after, and it's just that powerful and that positive experience that myself and others are just willing to sacrifice and give everything to making this season happen. And certainly, let's not forget, and certainly for those who aren't aware, it is a religious event. Um, Carnival and Mardi Gras has everything to do with Catholicism and Christianity. And though I can't often speak it with great clarity, but it has to do with the 12 days of Christmas and the ritual calendar and the day of Epiphany and all these things leading up to Easter. Sometimes not being raised Catholic, I was not raised Catholic, but I've educated myself a great deal on Catholicism, being a New Orleanian. But I'm still quite ignorant to some of it. Lent begins on Ash Wednesday. I do know that. And so after weeks of debauchery and crews like Bacchus, which is the god of wine and drunkenness, they then everything shuts down at midnight, Mardi Gras night, or I should say Ash Wednesday morning, and then the next day is Ash Wednesday. For those of you who are Catholic or familiar, you go and you get the ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and the crucifix done on your forehead, reminding you of your uh, humanness and you're returning to recycle, into the earth. And at some point, our true selves, our soul, our spirit will be separated, from the flesh. Now, again, I'm not Catholic. I'm just trying to make it clear to people who might not quite understand, what's going on. So the Mardi Gras, which means Fat Tuesday, by the way, it's a literal French to English Fat Tuesday translation, but it's the culminating day of Carnival. And Carnival certainly celebrated historically in Europe, but also celebrated historically in Africa in the Caribbean in a very Africanized, Afrocentric, Pan-African sort of way. Those two things collide in Brazil, collide in New Orleans in a way that's unique. And so we party, we dance, we mimic, lewd acts and make crazy political statements and jokes throughout the course of Carnival. There's some ribbing of other cultures and other religions and other practices that's sort of laced in the symbolism of the cruise and the walking parades that take place on St. Charles Avenue. 5 mile route, by the way, from where they start at Napoleon and St. Charles. Some start, I believe, at Magazine or Chapatula Street and make it to that right on St. Charles all the way to Canal Street, back to Chapatula's, almost like in a circle of sorts, and now sort of culminate at Mardi Gras World or in that general vicinity. So it's about a 5 mile route for those little kids, for those high school bands and baton twirlers and gymnasts and gymnastics techs that be out there. It's quite the journey. The walking cruise, it's quite the journey. The police and the security, it's quite a journey. And then again, it all ends at midnight. Some of you may have seen it on TV or even on YouTube. Visit the live streaming French Quarter channels on YouTube. They're actually streaming from EarthCam. I also have a cam page on EarthCam, but EarthCam then streams them to YouTube. Just type in French Quarter live cam. It's one that's up on top of the balcony, and it's another one that sits in the street, and you can sort of see the aftermath, figuratively and literally, of the Mardi Gras that's going on St. Charles and down Canal Street. I think there's only one or two parades at all that you actually see on camera passing through the French Quarter because the streets are narrow and smaller. So they don't really take the large super cruise and the big parades through the French Quarter. But you do get Barcus, which is a dog parade. You get other smaller historic parades that do make their way through the French Quarter. And you do get a glimpse of those on those live streaming 24-hour webcams. But the point I was making is you also get to see the police line at the end. The very last crew is the police, the fire trucks, the cleanup garbage trucks that figuratively and literally sweep the last remaining people off the street at midnight and then remove the garbage. Because technically the French Quarter is, it's open city. It does not, quote unquote, close, but they try and take back the streets, for car traffic, automobile traffic at midnight. So they need people to stop, pedestrian in the streets at that point. Though that's something that's very common in the French Quarter any time of the day or night. But, they still try and keep a sense of order. I'm often just waking up at midnight. After being up all night, Lundi Gras, sometimes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday, and then Lundi Gras, which is Monday. And then Fat Tuesday, I might be in bed by 5 p.m. After I've gone out and did my cultural due diligence. I might be asleep at 5 p.m. So I might be woke at midnight just enough to catch her. The French Quarter webcam and the police sweeping the last remaining partiers off the street. I miss the days of Cops. Remember the TV show Cops? And cops would get right in the crowd and film the fights and the drunkenness and the women, bearing their body parts. Our beloved Denise Augustine, sister storyteller and historian, we were filming her today, and she said something so profound and unique, but clear to those of us who live here in the city and understand the culture. There are three carnivals. There are three Mardi Gras that are taking place. There is indeed that uptown Mardi Gras, money, cruise, families of some notoriety, wealth, prestige, fancy balls, and then certainly those super crews of hundreds of people and thousands of dollars of beads and trinkets and floats that make their way past the mayoral stand and Gallagher Hall on Mardi Gras Day and those parades leading up to Mardi Gras Day. Then there's what goes on downtown, in the neighborhoods, in the communities, your baby dolls, your skull and bone, your masking, black masking Indians, your second line culture. In my neighborhood, downtown, this part of town. And then there's what's going on in the French Quarter. And to quote beloved Denise, body parts, breastises, and people flashing, sometimes to end up being arrested, by the way. Nudity is not legal in New Orleans, no matter what the liquor might be telling you on Mardi Gras Day. And if you get to flashing too much, too often, and in the presence of just the right cop, you just might be apprehended, male and female. Men much quicker than than women. A woman might get a pass for, throw me some beads, mister, and up flipping her shirt. But men, don't unzip your pants. Don't moon anybody. Please don't. Just please don't. It might be entertaining and fun, in your intoxicated brief moment. But go back and look at a few of those cops TV show episodes from back in the day. You will go to jail. Okay, save yourself some time and some money. Don't come here and do that. But please come here and play safe and have fun and enjoy all the things that a city like my beloved New Orleans, Louisiana, and particularly Treme, if you know, you know, come on through. Come on through. So I have enjoyed being with you all. I've managed to talk an hour without passing out and going to sleep on y'all. I've still got so much to do leading up to and following, but I certainly look forward to sharing this sacred space with you Lundi Gras Monday night. Now, Monday night might be a little festive. There might be a bit of a party going on, so I might have more guests in-house that might also be participating Monday night with us on the show. We may even go out on the street Monday night with the laptop and the cell phones and do this podcast because there will be so much music and merriment and partying going on Monday night, Lundi Gras leading into Mardi Gras morning. So I may very well be podcasting with you live from the street on Monday night. Joshua and I and whoever else decides to drop by. I'm certainly going to send out another email because I actually did not send a group email out today to remind my co-hosts and my people that we are broadcasting, but we'll be here Monday night. So I thank you. I appreciate you. If you're in town, please come on through. Please come on through the 6th Ward where the 6th and the 7th meet. It's St. Philip and North Robinson, and have a good time with us. Let's celebrate. Until next time, remembering that all is truly and indeed a blessing. if you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test, divine mysteries of this life cycle. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, respect the voodoo. No matter where you go, respect the voodoo, respect the voodoo. All is a blessing. Ashe.
At the beginning of this, maybe I was more skeptical. As the days have gone on, I'm not sure what I think anymore.
I felt that maybe it wouldn't affect me if I personally didn't believe in it.
So, knowing what you know now, would you still get cursed?
I'm seeking out a curse, a hex, to put on myself.
A curse could end your life. You're literally begging the devil to knock on your door just to prove to you that God's real.
He could curse you with stupidity, but we think you got that down.
Despite the warnings, I'm investigating the real-world effects of dark magic.
Looks like you have a lot of love and a lot of opportunity. You are going to cause damage to that.
How do you feel after doing this?
Evil.
That must be quite seductive.
That's the power you're calling on. The devil, right? Quite seductive.
I'm going to enter into a pact with Satan.
Señor Satán, Lucifer, presentamos a este hermano. Con tu fuego purifica.
Wyong is pretty much the epicenter of all black magic. People are very scared to even talk about it.
Y'all better not call me at 2 o'clock in the morning talking about this man is dead. I don't want to hear that.
I have this physical feeling that something bad is coming. What have I done?
You're going to have to find faith in this in order to undo it.